Hey there, my friends. It's Bill McDonald, the Reading and Writing Doctor. Welcome to part one of four for revising. One of the first requests for assistance was on the area of writing in the blueprint, specifically for combining sentences. And I'll start right away by thinking of these two fists as two different sentences. And there's a saying that I do when I'm combining sentences. It's called there's a sentence, sentences come together right now in one sentence. So the idea is to take the content of two different sentences and bring them together to merge those two worlds so that they have one specific uh, complete thought with the contents and the meaning of both sentences without losing the subject and the predicate. But we have to start with part one being what are the guidelines of revising? So revising is improving the content. Reading is understanding content, but revising is improving the content by using what I call ARM, what some of you guys use as ARMS, by adding green, removing red, replacing green, and moving yellow. The word substitute has never been used, so what you might say is add, remove, replace, or move something, a word, a phrase, a line, a transition, a sentence. For the 8 questions in elementary, 9 more or less in middle school, and 11 in high school that you're going to get in 2 different passages. That's the most they're ever going to ask your students to do is to add, remove, or replace or remove one thing, a word, a phrase. And so I have my root beer bottle here, my IBC root beer, introduction, body, conclusion, which means you're going to put something in to it, take something out, or move something around. So if you, in your binders, your little mini binders would go to page 9, I have that same root beer bottle so that if you choose to do so, you can give a copy, or as I mentioned, you can upload these to whatever your students use and uh, have them remember exactly what revising is. Remember that in revising, you're improving the content, which is how something is organized, or changing how it's developed by adding or removing certain things that don't belong, or removing something and replacing it with something else. So that's why they don't use the word substitute, because they'll say, what is the best blah, blah, blah that could replace blah, blah, blah. So in order to replace something, you first have to remove it. So if you use the monkeys that many of you who have the hard copies got or are getting, you'll use a green monkey for adding, a red monkey for removing, a green monkey for replacing, and a yellow monkey for moving. So to close this part of the video is what I've done for you over the last umpteen years is looked at every single revising portion of the test over the last umpteen years, like I said, and I went ahead and wrote what you might call the keyword strands, which are if the sentence is on here, it was on the revising portion of a test. And these are in a certain order, kind of like from head uh, to toe, sort of like. They're grouped by topics or sections, the keywords being read. Um, but what I'm going to do in part two is teach you how to have your kids use a graphic organizer to make an arm so that they can decide which of these questions are the hardest and save those for later. This question number one and two are the complete hardest that your revising students could ever get because they're both asking about a sentence that they would add that would help with the understanding of the entire paper. If you look at me in the corner, a central idea to the whole, as they would be to the introduction, the body, and the conclusion, the controlling idea, the thesis, the position, or the focus. Those are all based on entire passages or selections. And so I would really suggest you have your kids do that last, but the the idea is that whether you're practicing revising with your kids or you're trying to improve their essays or even their short answer responses, you might use some of these keywords and phrases so your students can become very familiar with the revising terms, which are improving the content, how something is organized and developed. Stay tuned for part two later on today. God bless and goodbye.